Hello, Clayton. Good to see you.
You guys woke up with crosshairs on Poland once again, it seems thanks to the United States, the UK, and NATO's provocations of Russia. How is this sitting right now with the Polish people? What is the sentiment there?
Well, unfortunately, I think the discussion right now in Poland in terms of any strategic danger that might come from the East basically concentrates on the fact that Biden, gave the green light to shoot the ATACMS deep inside Russia, and not so much in the direct danger that is, founded in that new base in the Redzikowo up there on the coast in Poland, which is an anti-ballistic missile base, ostensibly originally planned during the George W. Bush administration as being directed at Iran. Obviously, nobody ever believed in that because ever since the idea came up, everybody in Poland understood that this base would be directed against Russia. Nobody in Poland really cares about Iran because we have no quarrel with Iran. But we're certainly driving into a quarrel with Russia, which is a quarrel that is absolutely not needed and which only heightens the strategic danger in which the Republic of Poland might find itself in the near future. So to answer your question, the latest hysteria, which in a way is positive because I think finally the idea that a war with Russia might be very destructive to Poland is finally reaching the mass Polish audience, but it's not reaching the mass Polish audience because of the direct and close base that has been just opened in Redzikowo, but because of events further away in Washington, i.e. the green light for Ukraine to launch the ATACMS, and obviously the potential Russian response to that.
We also had overnight the Estonian foreign minister who says that if Trump brokers a peace deal with Russia, then NATO basically needs to give them the middle finger. NATO needs to put boots on the ground inside of Ukraine. So is Poland ready to, as part of NATO, ready to put boots on the ground in Ukraine in a large capacity if Trump brokers a peace deal? I mean, it's absolute madness to me, but of course, Russia's taking it very seriously.
Judging by what the current foreign minister of Poland and privately the husband of Anne Applebaum of the Atlantic magazine, Radek Sikorski, said in a pranked phone call with the Russian pranksters Vovan and Lexus, nobody in Poland is looking to put boots on the ground and looking for an escalation. Now, in that conversation, Sikorski said that if the front was collapsing, if the Ukrainians were taking a beating, I'm guessing, crossing the Dnieper River and running away to the west, he hinted that there might be consideration of putting at least a no-fly zone into Ukraine. But nobody in Poland currently is seriously contemplating, at least that I know of, is seriously contemplating boots on the ground. I don't think, despite the many negative opinions I hold about the current regime, that they're that suicidal, like they're, as many call them, the Baltic Chihuahuas, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, of doing a lot of talking but no action, because those countries literally don't have any significant militaries. They're more of a police force, if anything. But Poland, which does have a fairly significant military, we can discuss if the capabilities are there. But we have a military that could go that potentially could go. I don't think, thankfully, at this point, anybody is contemplating that, especially in light of what has been said recently by Radek Sikorski. Once again, that actually, as a matter of fact, he wants to get along with President Donald Trump. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see if his wife allows him to.
The Rand Corporation's threat assessment ladder, threat escalation ladder, we've shown it quite extensive. We've shown it a ton here on Redacted. We'll put it up here on the screen if we can. Of course, it starts with diplomatic pressure. It escalates all the way up to nuclear war. I don't think I've ever seen it get this high. And in fact, a lot of people who obviously were alive during the Cuban Missile Crisis say where we are right now is worse than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Are the Polish people... I think in America, the reason I ask this, I feel like there's a detachment. Everyone's getting ready for Christmas. There's sort of a detachment from it. And people can sort of compartmentalize things because we've never had a nuclear war. We've never had intercontinental ballistic missiles fired at us. But I think we're right there. I think we are. And are the Polish people aware of how dire the situation is?
Unfortunately, not to the extent that they should be. Even with the whole green lighting of the ATACMS, missiles being fired into Russia, and the negative effects that could entail. Unfortunately, and I'm actually pretty happy that Annie Jacobson's book, I think it's 78 or 72 minutes, has been translated into Polish about what would happen in a nuclear war and how quickly most of mankind would cease to exist. So that's a good thing that this has been actually, it appeared on the Polish book market recently. But because we haven't had the experience, I mean, during the Cold War, we were a frontline country. But it was only after the Cold War did we find out, thanks to the files that were released by the CIA about, a certain code name Jack Strong, Pukovnik Kuklinski, who smuggled secret Soviet documents of what would happen during a nuclear war if that were to take place on the territory of Poland. We've never actually been threatened with anything that could come close to a nuclear cataclysmic event. But I think Poles should really start thinking about that, especially in light of what the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zakharova said, that this base would be targeted and not necessarily with conventional weapons like the ones we saw probably this morning with the RS-26, most likely Rubez missile that hit Dnipropetrovsk in Ukraine. People were saying it's an ICBM. I tend to go with ScottRitter's analysis, who says this is most likely an RS-26 with conventional warheads that just smashed everything that came into contact with them. So even if Russia weren't to go to the nuclear level, I mean, having a couple of those babies fall into Poland, I think would scare the living crap out of at least 30% of our population, which would immediately escape west. So we shouldn't be playing with fire, and I think we should definitely stop thinking that Vladimir Putin is bluffing.
Absolutely. I'll get you out of here on this, Doctor, which is we haven't talked since the election of Donald Trump in the United States. The Polish media, I'm sure, is responding one way, but in your conversations with the Polish people, where are their heads at with the presidency of Donald Trump in the White House back in Washington, D.C.?
I think a lot of people don't really understand the potential significance that Donald Trump could have for Poland, because I think there's three schools of thinking on Donald Trump in Poland. I'm in the minority. The first school of thinking is that, Trump is going to come back, peace through strength. He's going to up the ante with Russia. We're going to have a Reagan-esque Cold War return, that Biden was weak, and we're going to support Ukraine even more. That's obviously falling apart. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump is not planning on that, despite what our local mini neocon wannabes tend to think in Warsaw. The second school is obviously, Trump's going to kill all the women. Oh my God, we're going to delegalize abortion, LGBT in Poland, and so forth. We're going to become, this fascist dictatorship under the tutelage of the, Washington Caesar. That's the Kamala Harris camp in Poland. Not too many of them, but they're there, mostly in the big cities. And I'm in the minority because I claim that Poland, and I actually did a short video about this just after the election. You can find it on my old channel on Votum TV, where I say that there can be an opening in Polish-Russian relations thanks to the pressure that Trump might apply in moving towards a Russian-American détente. A Russian-American détente will serve the interests of the entire Eastern European region, as Viktor Orban likes to point out. The less tension we have in Eastern Europe, the better for Eastern Europe. So anything that brings Russia and the United States to the table and ends the war in Ukraine is good for Poland. How we play that out later, how we take the diplomatic track, if we even consider taking the diplomatic track as a sovereign country, which we claim to be, that's a whole different story. But the entire pressure that will come from Washington and the impending effects of a Russian-American, even mini détente, I think will do wonders for Poland, and most importantly, will keep war away from our borders.
Well, let me just speak directly to the Polish people. I know a lot of people in Poland watch our show. The neocons in Poland better be scared, because Trump is not with you on this. There is not going to be a Cold War against Russia going back to the 1980s under Reagan. That's not going to happen. Donald Trump has no appetite for that, and I can tell you, as someone who speaks to people close to him, that's not going to happen. So I'm with you in the latter category. It might upset a lot of the neocons who are looking to make a lot of money off of this in the military-industrial complex and who want war. I really strongly believe that that's not going to happen. So I'm with you in this.
Hallelujah.
Doctor. I'm with you.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, business relationships, developing business relationships again, getting back to peace, and reinvesting in the United States, I think, is a huge piece of this. And look, the United States is up against a massive amount of neocons in Washington, D.C., who I'm hoping will be thrown out and will be standing in the breadline looking for work very, very soon. So that's my goal.
Clayton,
that's my hope.
Just to say one last thing at the end there, when I found out that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be giving the president the presidential daily intelligence briefing, I was very, very happy. Possibly the only person in Poland who understood the implications of that. So Tulsi, if you're hearing this, good job, and hope to see you soon in the Oval Office in some press room telling the president all the things that need to be told without the neocon John Bolton filter.
Yes, and the Mike Pompeo filters as well. So,
amen.
Yes, we're absolutely thrilled that Tulsi Gabbard is going to be heading up the DNI. Dr. Mike Krupa, thank you for your insight and analysis from Poland tonight. We appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Clayton.